All right, welcome. We're going to get started, try to keep things on track. You notice our agenda, we're looking to end at noon today, which is a little bit earlier than usual. Many of us have been meeting the past 2 days here for the Continuous Improvement Conference, which has been awesome. And so we're going to make sure we keep things moving along. So for those of you on Zoom, we do have a camera. Heidi, how you doing? It doesn't move with the speaker. So you won't necessarily see the speaker unless they stand right in front of the camera, which is an awkward place to stand. If you can't remember who I am, I'm Stein Brunvan. If you can't remember what I look like, kind of a cross between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. No, the audience doesn't seem to agree. Anyway, seeing my face does not improve the experience, I don't think, for you. So anyway, welcome to Michigan State. We will have a welcome from Representative Gail Richmond from Michigan State. And you might be thinking, oh, is it hard for Stein to say that? Welcome to Michigan State, being from Michigan? Well, I was a Spartan before I was a Wolverine. Yes. Met my wife in Wilson Hall. First daughter was born while I was doing my master's. Actually got out of doing my final presentation for the last class of my master's because I was at Sparrow Hospital. And I told the professor at the start of the semester, I might not be here for the last class because my wife's having, first child. And fortunately, they were very understanding, and I still passed the class. So anyway, it's good to be back here. Actually, I even saw Tom Izzo as I was leaving. And I took a picture yesterday. If you want a blurry picture of Tom Izzo's backside as he walked away, that sounded really creepy. But you'll know it's him because he's the short guy, and then he's next to a tall guy who I didn't know. So I immediately sent it to my dad, who's an alum as well, and he, of course, asked me, did you talk to Coach? Well, no, I didn't want to bother him. So anyway, good to be back here on campus. But I'm going to ask Gail Richmond to do a more official welcome to all of you on behalf of Michigan State. Is Gail, or maybe Gail stepped out. Oh, there she is. She's hiding back there. Okay. You've been doing such a great welcome these past 2 days. Let's keep the streak going.
Yeah, and we ordered this weather just for you. So, yeah, this month has felt more like April than May, with 50s one day and 80s the next. So thank you. We're thrilled to have you here. As Stein said, we've been having 2 days, wonderful days of continuous improvement conversations. Although I will say that I feel like the host at Thanksgiving dinner, when you're doing more about the running around and not having enough time to sit in the sessions. But the feedback's been great. And as with our CIC, at DARTEP, we've been gotten sort of used to being on Zoom, right? We see each other in 2 dimensions. So some of you I'm seeing in 3 dimensions for the first time. So yay, you look great. So happy to have you here today. If you have a little break, take a walk along the river. It's really quite lovely. And we've got good food and good conversations and good planning time and problem solving time. How many of you are here for the first time? All right, so there are a number of you, so welcome. It's a different kind of meeting than MACD, but both are equally important to sort of how we think about, plan for, and solve problems around teacher preparation. And I've learned a ton from being a part of it in the few years that I have been a part of it, and everybody here is just incredibly helpful and are good partners in thought as well as action. So welcome, have a great partial day, and I hope you get wherever you're going to when you're done here. You can take your time and enjoy the weather and all the budding trees and flowers as you leave campus. So.
Thanks, Gail. And definitely thank you for your hospitality. We really appreciate it. So these are our upcoming meeting dates for next year. You see, we're at Aquinas, Calvin. Of course, the February meeting has been virtual historically. We're going to keep with that. And then the in-person, we weren't sure if it had been formally decided. It sounds like after yesterday's announcement was made that that's going to be at Hope. And so when we're okay to say that, all right, I saw the thumbs up. So that will be at Hope next year. And of course, coincide with the Continuous Improvement MACD conference. Let's see, sometimes it wants to work, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. So a bit of business here. Approval of the DARTEP minutes from the February meeting. And is there someone that would like to make a motion? Thank you, Jillian. Is there a second? Thank you. We have a second. And any suggestions for revisions of the minutes that you all read several times? All right. Any objections to approval of the minutes? Any abstentions? They are enthusiastically approved. All right. Honoraria. So we have usually it's been a custom that we provided a small honoraria in thanks to our treasurer and to Brian. What is actually your title? Like tech extraordinaire? I mean, Brian said from the start that he's been in this gig for the money all along, which is why we all got into education. We know. So, but they go above and beyond. Beth and Brian go above and beyond in the work that they do. Beth with managing all the dues, all of the helping with all, take care of paying for the catering, arranging a lot of the catering, a lot of different meetings that we go to. They get, very little thanks for that. And so what we have done in the past is provided just a small honorarium, but it requires approval of all of you. And so I'm going to pretend like they're not sitting there right now. And I was hoping that we could approve a $1,000 honorarium for both of them. So if someone would, like to make that motion. Okay, I think we have a motion. Is there a second? Thank you. I'm seeing multiple hands. Okay, all right. Any discussion? Okay. Any objections, abstentions? All right. Thank you. Beth, well, it's inflation. All right. I think Beth saying, I thought it was 500. No. Okay. Inflation. Beth, can you make sure that you pay yourself? Thank you. All right. DARTEP membership. You want to talk a little bit about that? About, I thought you were going to talk about people could start signing up for membership now. Okay. Yes. Yeah. If you want to just speak briefly about it. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. We decided to try something a little bit different with DARTEP membership. We know that some of you are closing out your fiscal year this year, and you might have a little bit of money left now. And so what we thought we would do is give you the option of signing up for your DARTEP dues now for next year or waiting until the fall. So it gives EPPs the option to do one or the other. Dues are going to stay the same at $50 per member. And we hope that that will end up being helpful for you. So a little bit later in the slide presentation, there'll be a link for you to go ahead and sign up if you'd like to do that now. Again, you don't have to. We're happy to do that again in the fall for you. So just options.
Thank you very much. So this is my last meeting as president or chair of DARTEP. And so we are going to need to elect a new recording secretary, president, chair-elect. Sherry Brower will be the president stepping in for next year, but we need someone, to keep the succession going. I did check the bylaws because I wanted to see before I left office if I could execute any executive orders. And it turns out I can't. I don't really have the power to do anything because the only thing I was going to do is require that Joe Lubig could never retire. Turns out I don't have the authority to do that. So, but I do have the authority to say, congratulations on nearing almost being retired. Is this going to be your last DARTEP meeting? So I hereby nominate Joe to be president-elect of DARTEP. So thank you very much. Round of applause for Joe. I'm sure if I ask the group, to raise your hand if Joe's ever agreed to meet with you, share something with you, give you something outright, actually, write your entire CAPE report for you, or everyone raised their hand. So thank you very much. It's well-deserved. And we look forward to seeing you in Northern in June, right? Still gonna be there for the MACD retreat. Okay. So we do need to elect someone, and I'm very happy to say that we do have one nominee. Gail has accepted a nomination, or at least I guess you have to formally accept. Gail, I nominate you. Do you formally accept that? Really hoping for a more enthusiastic yes. Okay. And now I will ask the floor and those on Zoom, are there any other nominees? This group has never been that quiet. All right. So any objections to, well, I guess so I nominated her and we don't need a motion, right? All right. So we're just going to vote now. Any objections to Gail? Any abstentions? All right. I'm going to assume it's unanimous. And does that make you feel good? Unanimously selected. A landslide. Awesome. Thank you very much, Gail. All right. I think you'll be happy to know that I'm done talking now. Beth, treasurer's report.
That clicker's not working. Sometimes it's working. All right, looks like it's working at the moment. We'll see. All right. So DARTEP agreed to collect the registration dues for MACD. And so I'm just letting you know as treasurer that we have taken in money for all of their registration and are going to give it right back to them. But that's part of what is in the accounting for us. We gave 2 DARTEP memberships away at MACD. Does anyone know who the first person was that took the MACD coupon? It was you. I want your name later so I can add you in here so I don't charge you for dues, okay? So thank you so much. Everything went so quick and I couldn't figure it out. But I know that Christy Edge from Northern picked one up yesterday, so congratulations. They each got a free membership for next year, so we're excited about that. So our balance at the end of April was just over $31,000. Again, I still have to pay out MACD. We need to cover breakfast and lunch for our DARTEP meeting today. We are going to have box lunches from Panera. They're variety pack, so before you leave, please make sure you take one of those. And again, as we said, we're going to go ahead and open membership for next year as an option for you. Again, the reason is just complete flexibility for you. Whoops. Hang on. So these are the links. So there's a membership form and then a link to pay the dues. Last year we had a little trouble with somebody getting into the Square account and like depositing $1 and depositing $1. So we don't put that link for Square on the website anymore. It'll strictly be here. And as you know, on the DARTEP website, we store all of our minutes. And so you can easily get it from there or just shoot me an email and I'm happy to send that to you. But we're also going to do DARTEP wear again. So as you know, these lovely shirts, 2 years ago, we were able to get with the DARTEP insignia. This year, we decided to go with short sleeves. So I have up here sizes for men and women. So before you leave today, if you want to come try one on over your current clothing and just see what size you might want to order, if you have your membership paid, you can go ahead and order one now. And then once we get enough ordered, we'll go ahead and submit that to the company and start to have the shirts made. So pretty exciting that we get to do DARTEP wear. And again, if you're a paid member, then that shirt is free for you. For those people that are not paid members, if you'd like to purchase one, just get a hold of me. Stein, we have a little gift for you if you please come up for a sec. So I found out that as you know, today is Stein's last meeting chairing for DARTEP, and I found out 2 things about Stein: that he really, really likes sports and that he really, really likes Legos. And so this is a thank you card from all of us and a little gift certificate for you. And if you'd open inside that green, we actually had, it's in there, yep. We actually had a Lego made for Stein. It does say DARTEP on his shirt. It does have his coffee next to him. That's what he looked like at the beginning of chairing DARTEP.
Full head of hair, but you can,
it does come off. So Stein, thank you so much for your leadership. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you, Brian, for sneaking that slide in at the last second so Stein didn't see it. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to our organization reports.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. So organization reports. MACD, do you want to roll this in with your kind of recap of the, okay. So we're going to have Marcia come up and she's going to speak for MACD. And for those that haven't been here the past couple of days, provide just a real brief little recap of what has been going on during the Continuous Improvement Conference.
People also need to know that when I was president of DARTEP, I strong-armed Stein into becoming president-elect. But sorry, you want to do this, don't you? So please understand that means also next presidency of MACD is in your future. Because there's just kind of this rolling pattern of us going from different jobs. So your future. We have plans. But real quick update on MACD. We've been quite active this spring. You saw in some of the notes, we did some white papers to try to oppose some of the teacher ed bills that went through the House. They still passed the House, but we have sent those white papers on to the Senate, and we're meeting with folks, and we keep a close eye on what's coming forward. Dan Hurley calls me periodically, did you see this coming up? Or we see something and we say, should we be worried about this one? But that's kind of the work of MACD. We will have a summer retreat in Marquette in June 9th. I stumbled over it yesterday and Joe looked at me like, I don't know, let me look it up. But if you've not had a chance to go to that meeting, it is a wonderful time of conversation and camaraderie and networking. The continuous improvement meeting that just wrapped up, we had an average of about 75 people each day that came, some people coming and going. We had 6 strands, and that's kind of concurrent for us, and our summer work will build off of it, and we'll take the feedback that we've gotten in the last few days and help shape the summer agenda. But for those of you that were not able to attend, our strands were on advocacy and change, continuous improvement, state reporting data, clinical experiences and partnerships, data and storytelling, and advanced programs. And lots of conversations. If you were not able to attend, talk to one of your colleagues that was. There's lots of great web resources. Thanks to Alyssa, we have a great web page up and running, and all the presenters put their PowerPoints up and things like that. So we've got good access to that. Our work is going to have to continue to be on advocacy. There's so many things happening in DC and in our own state, and we've got to be aware of it, and we've got to be ready to support the things that will help us and the youth in our state, and try to minimize the damage of some of the other actions. We're not going to have a whole lot of choice on some of this with the way things are going, but please do get involved with MACD. Join us next year at Hope in Holland, and we will have a fall meeting also. Anything else, questions people have got about it? In that, thank you so much.
Thank you. And could we have the organizing committee, planning committee for the conference, MACD conference, stand up one more time, please, so you can be recognized. Thank you very much for an awesome conference. And I really want to thank also all the presenters that shared. I mean, all of our colleagues presenting and sharing their ideas with us. I don't know if you've had this experience when I talk to people outside of this group about DARTEP or MACD, they have a hard time understanding, wait a minute, you're from different institutions and you get together and you share ideas. You don't try to keep those secret. You know, why would you do that? And it's because we're all working towards the same goal of preparing future teachers and administrators and supporting current teachers and administrators with the mindset of creating a better educational opportunity for all K-12 students, right? And so as long as that's all of our goals, then then it doesn't really matter what institution we come from. So it's great to see everyone just be willing to share their ideas and share resources with one another so we can learn from each other. As moving on, Michigan Public Deans, or I shouldn't say we, I attend that meeting on behalf of my dean. And when the last meeting we had was right around the last DARTEP meeting. So I can't recall that we met since then. So there's not really much of an update. They will be having a retreat that coincides with the MACT retreat at Northern. So a little time will be carved out there. And so some of your deans may be going there for that. Other than that, a lot of the same issues that we've been hearing about. Dan Hurley shared, some of those yesterday. Massey always does a update with the deans. A lot of the same things that we've been hearing about as far as legislation, budgets, and so forth that are in question. Michigan Independent Educator Prep Institution. Is there anyone from one of the independents that wants to share any kind of update? Seeing none. Okay. We will move on then. We've had that. And our colleagues at MDE. You probably have the magic touch with this clicker since it's yours.
I think when a chat message comes in, it like throws it off or something. So it decides, ooh, I'm going to pay attention to that input before I pay attention to this one. So, but that doesn't mean people online don't chat. So I'll look you in the eye. You can put in a chat message, please, for questions. Okay, good morning and welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. I've got a large MDE team all sitting in the back row here. I will note, I was here earlier than everybody and I sat there, but I'm not much of an influencer. Kelly sat there and then everyone sat up that way. So there we go. But when I say come on down, you're going to have a little bit further to walk for things. So perhaps it's all in your good health. So first, big congratulations to Bridget. She's accepted the position of interim manager of our data and accountability unit. So a little applause. Kate Boswell Gallagher left us and went to Grand Valley State University. That was back in February, we announced that, and then Bridget just stepped in for the interim. But we got revenge because we got Lucas from Grand Valley State University on our professional educator certification services team, and he's a certification analyst. So he will be there to process applications, to answer questions, to review apps, and all kinds of great things. So if you already have a quality relationship with Lucas, he will, I'm sure, carry that over here. So you can reach out to him with questions and such. But that's the certification analyst processing things. There we go. And congratulations to our regional teachers of the year, announced earlier this spring. This is the cohort coming up for 25-26. Point of personal privilege, Region 7 is somebody that I trained at Miller, so that's really cool. But you may recognize several of these names, and I hope you recognize, at least I hope our Central Michigan people recognize, Corey Rosser, who is the Michigan Teacher of the Year, announced just this week. Very good. Very good. Social Studies teacher, Quest High School. That's an alternative high school in North Branch area schools, 2004 graduate of CMU. And yeah, that was just announced Tuesday, right? Tuesday, I think is what it was. And I got those pictures and got them in. So there we go. MDE DARTEP written updates went out earlier this week. Again, always useful. We're going to give you a selection of items from that. So first, legislation and budget. Those who were here heard several things from Olivia and from Dan Hurley, and of course, Marcia was just mentioning some here. We are in budget season, so just a couple of highlights here. The executive budget recommendation from the governor has $50 million more added to the Grow Your Own 27B pot, so that's good. The Senate bill doesn't have that, but they do have something very intriguing, $20 million for educator housing in collaboration with MDE and the State Housing Authority. Could be a game changer. We had conversations, Jennifer Fager and I had conversations about housing being critical. NCTQ dropped a report last night about teacher housing and how for many of our, most of the areas in our country, the price of housing has outpaced teacher salaries and made home ownership less attainable for teachers, particularly early career teachers with bachelor's degrees. One outlier in that is Detroit, by the way. So it's an analysis of 72 urban districts in the country. Detroit is the 7th most affordable district for teachers. So rather nice. How did they get there? Salary increases for teachers. Salary increases that outpaced the cost of housing. Not saying that housing in Detroit is cheap. It's saying that the salaries are keeping pace with those increases. And both the executive budget and the school aid budget bill have continued funding for the fellowship and stipend. So that's always a question every year. Will that continue? Will that continue? Neither the governor nor the Senate have continued funding for the MTTC reimbursement grant. We have an opportunity to comment on that. I did that yesterday and said, please keep it going. We used up all the money the first year. We're going to probably use it all up this year. It's popular. There are things that they allocate where the money doesn't get spent. So $1 million isn't that much in the state budget, but it's a game changer for our students. So I think it's worth keeping. Some active bills. We heard a lot about these here this week, and this is an updated. There's no update to this that's not in your written updates. Still tracking these bills that the cert or the endorsement by testing, the local teacher certification, things like that. But that's just a spot check of where they are. You heard, if you were here, you heard Olivia talk about like, these are just House bills. There is the Senate and then the governor to get through. And so there we go. I think really the newest thing in any of this since the last DARTEP is that House Joint Resolution G, which is elimination of the State Board of Education. So you've got competing things. Get rid of it or change the way it's elected. So we'll see if either of those goes anywhere. Some research highlights to share with you. First, this is a report. One of the co-authors is Tara Kilbride here with EPIC from the Calder Center. And that QR code will get you to it. Michigan teacher licensure, retention, and effectiveness during the COVID-19 pandemic. It looks at what we did, the issuance of a temporary teaching certificate for people because of test center closures, as well as the flexibilities we implemented around student teaching. If you remember back then, we were like, here, do this, do that. If they've satisfied everything, let them go. We are praised for our conservative approach to COVID-19 flexibilities. We didn't just simply say, you're going to get certified permanently and you don't have to take a test, you don't have to student teach, any of that. We have recovered our workforce according to the stats, locally not necessarily so, but we've had really good recovery and a stable thing, a stable population. And the flexibilities around student teaching seem to have benefited the teachers who are going into special education particularly well. So always nice to get a report like that came out a little while ago. The next thing is National Academy of Education has a report on evaluating, it's called a consensus report, evaluating and improving teacher preparation programs. And if you've got a nice long memory, they did something like this a decade ago. And Bob Floden from MSU is on the executive board. He is also credited here with in this report. And this is an update on that. It was a very influential report. I saw he spoke a lot around the country. There's a webinar coming up about it. At that QR code, you can get the executive summary and consensus report. The webinar, and I'm glad they got to get the slides updated as quickly at the last minute, because they just changed the date from May 22nd, which is what it says in the written updates, to June 4th. And so remember, that's the new date for it. If you follow the link in the written updates to register, you're going to be surprised that it's a different date than what it says. But that's NASDAQ, and they're a professional education committee. They have a monthly open discussion series, and they'll be reviewing this report with National Academy of Education. I signed up. June 4th actually works better for me than May 22nd, so I'm pleased with the date change. And you can, at the NASDAQ website, you can see lots and lots of archives of previous professional education committee open discussions featuring some of us, actually, if you go through the history of them. So useful. Ooh, preparation. Okay. First thing I want to say is closure documentation, a gentle reminder that closure forms and rosters are due 6 months after the date on your approval letters for your new programs. Just did an inventory, and I think if you watch Dr. Rice's talk, he didn't read the numbers on the slide, but we've approved 265 new programs as of end of April. So that number is already higher because we've had more new grade band approvals since then. And it also doesn't include all of the conversions of your world language programs and ESL programs and bilingual programs to PK-12. But 265 is quite impressive. But every one of those, there's something that needed to close, right, as you're introducing these new programs. And so your approval letters tell you within 6 months, please send us rosters. Thank you to everyone who sends the rosters and the closure things. This is really vital for our public directory and ensuring that our teach out candidates can get certified. So, you know, some years down the road, somebody on your roster for the old elementary comes back to Michigan. They've passed the test a while ago. You said they're good to go. And if they show up and say, hey, how do I get this? We can get them certified. If they're not on the roster or you never sent a roster, we don't know who these people are. So there's no vouching for them. So that's why it's really important. So these folks can get that. It is helpful to include candidates who complete your programs but didn't get certified. And Eric and Dickens and I had a conversation about this, like, well, how far back do you go, right, in the records? And no matter how far back you go, there will be somebody before that date who completed and didn't get certified and is going to want to get certified sometime in the future. So you can draw the line at whatever your credit longevity policies are, which makes good sense. But know that, so when Marygrove closed, for example, we got all their closure documents and we help all of the folks who graduated and were ready to be recommended to get their certificates. I would say probably 8 or 9 out of 10 of the people who have applied since then are people whose graduation date is earlier than the dates on the rosters that they sent us. So we have to do some digging and transcript reviews and things like that. So this is really helpful stuff to help get our teachers certified. And when they hear, hey, there's a shortage, I did a program, I guess I should get my certificate and I could help out with a shortage. Yes. Okay, special education teacher standards update. Gina, you want to come on down? Or I could send this back with you. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, okay, great. There you go.
We're very excited. We are finally getting to this approval for this new special education teacher endorsement. This is going to be a cross-categorical endorsement, although we are not using that phrase to describe it. It is a cross-categorical endorsement. Teachers with this endorsement right now, this may change a little in terms of something might be added to it, but right now, these teachers with, once we get this out, will be able to work in EI, CI, LD, and POHI placements. So we're super excited. We're hoping and we're anticipating the standards will be approved on Tuesday, and then we can start a pretty long process of getting to where we can get candidates out with these programs. So we'll start technical assistance with you all for any institution that wants to offer this program in the fall. Keep an eye on email. I'm going to be sending out something to get to all your special ed faculty, and we're going to try to convene all special ed faculty like September, October, to kind of talk through this and answer any questions. We are, yes, first applications. We're not going to take first applications for this until April next year. Just to give people time to think about it. Also, we need some time because we still probably have to change Mars to make this happen. And that's going to take about 18 months. And we have a test that needs to be done. And that's at least about 3 years or so. So we're hoping that by the time, if we start accepting applications next spring, candidates start moving through programs, that somewhere in 2028, maybe, we'll start seeing people come out with this new endorsement. So we're super excited, and there's still a lot of work to do, but we're just really excited about it. So if your special ed faculty have questions, feel free to send them to me. I'm happy to talk with people. And again, just kind of keep your eyes open and be ready to send something to your special ed people for them to come to our special ed summit that we'll have in the fall.
Cool. Thank you. The presentation is scheduled for about 2:00 on Tuesday. It's immediately after public comment, so it could start actually earlier than that. And the public comment, though, feel free to call in and voice your support for these standards. We think they're a game changer. Come in person and deliver public comment. We will happily host you. Maybe take you down to the cafeteria and get a taco. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And it'd be, yeah, again, 2:00, give or take a half hour, depending on what the public comment looks like that day. All right, disciplinary literacy and dyslexia. Aklam, would you like to come down and? All right, here you go.
Hello, everyone, and thanks to everyone who has been quite involved and engaged in this process. The disciplinary literacy and dyslexia application, we've had several sessions so far, beginning in January after the rollout in September of the disciplinary literacy preparation standards. We have 2 more meetings before the application is due. And all of this material is available for everyone to access in a Google Drive. Our next session is May 22nd at 2 p.m. And when you have the links, you'll have access to that. You don't need to register. We were happy to accommodate when some of you shared that the registration was an issue. A big shout out and thanks to all who contributed during these sessions and our colleagues from Northern Michigan University, and they're right here, Joe and Christy from University of Michigan. We also had a team, and I don't see any of them here, but they also shared quite a bit of resources in their process. And from Grand Valley State University, anyone who would like to share in the upcoming 2 sessions is welcome to. Just let me know and I will share the slides with you. I can tell you that everyone does appreciate having the additional resources that everyone is willing to share. The completed application is due June 30th by email to educatorprogramsmichigan.gov. And anything that is included in that application should be sent as an attachment. Any thoughts or questions about this? Okay. I'm done. All right. The resources that I referred to, most essential of them on the left-hand side, these are links embedded into the slide. The webpage from our colleagues in the Office of Educational Supports. Our webpage is coming. All that you see in the Google Drive that you have access to is being prepped for our webpage. But meanwhile, you have everything that is available. There's a wealth of resources that we definitely want to tap into from our colleagues in doing the work for PA 146, keeping in mind that 146 and the requirements at the district level is what you are preparing the teacher candidates for. So what is going on there and the work of that committee that's funded to vet resources, we definitely want to tap into, because these are the resources and the criteria that is used to evaluate the resources is already work that they're doing. So that's something that you can all leverage. And some of these have been selected and added into organized Excel sheets that you may refer to, hopefully easy access. What we have also the frequently asked questions from districts. You might be curious as to what conversations are being had at district level, but specifically what your colleagues are asking during these meetings. Those questions that came of mostly from the last 3 meetings are now in a frequently asked document. You can refer to those easily. Upcoming webinars also, these are offered by the Office of Educational Supports, and the webinars that are already recorded, the link is not here, but in the folder that is coming up on the following slide, all of that is there. And if there's any issues that you have with accessing materials, please feel free to reach out to me. And this is it. This is the reorganized literacy preparation continuum implementation resources. Once you access this, you'll see there's a draft repository and all the wonderful artifacts, rubrics, instructional resources, websites that were shared by colleagues have already been organized in here for you to explore, add to, and hopefully by the time that your program is underway, you have benefited and colleagues have benefited from all the shared efforts and shared work. And that's it. Thank you so much. And I want to thank also my colleague and partner, Christine, for all her support in this work, because really this is a great journey for all of us. We are definitely learning together on how best to not only meet the legislation, but also to have that continuum of preparation and literacy across pre-K-12 that already exists, but we are just a little bit more motivated to look at it as a whole picture. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Awesome. Okay. Hi. I'm so excited to talk about MTTC. I didn't realize I had so much content that they just put it in its own section. So that's fancy. Oh, I have to aim it this way, not where I want to look. Got it. Okay, thanks. So I wanted to talk about the professional knowledge and skills tests. I've gotten some questions and I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk to as many people as possible about like who needs to take them and which ones and when. So we'll start with which endorsements need a professional knowledge and skills test. Basically, if it's an endorsement with the new certification structure, they need to take one that's really easy, right? Like ZO and ZP, BQ, the new language arts, that'll need one. If it's something that is kind of sunsetting because of the new certification structure, they do not need to take a professional knowledge and skills test. So we've updated our page to be clearer about that, like English BA, they do not need a professional knowledge and skills test, right? That's being replaced. And then if it's something that isn't being replaced, but also isn't new, then those will need a professional knowledge and skills test. So for example, speech, the BT reading, music is a really good example. If they're doing, you know, learning disabilities through like an experimental program, they would need to take one. Health and phys ed, the MC endorsement, they would need to take one. That's all updated on our page, and that's what the QR code goes to. The next question would be, when do you need to take one? Oh, no. Why does it do this? Oh my God. Sorry. I will use the keyboard. All right. Cool. So when do they need to take a new test? It's midnight. Midnight on New Year's Eve is when that MOEX is going to start looking for professional knowledge and skills tests. So if it's all the way up until like, you know, 11:59 p.m., you do not need one. But if soon as it's midnight in 2026, you do need a test. That's what MOEX is going to look for because MOEX is a machine. And then there's just like a whole bunch of like what ifs. So what if somebody finishes an additional endorsement program for ESL? That's one where they would start to need one in 2026. Then, you know, what if they're doing this additional endorsement? Trick question. It's not a problem because it's only required for initial certification. So if somebody's first time getting something on a Michigan teaching certificate, they need it. If they're doing an additional endorsement because they've had like an endorsement for math for a million years, and now they're going back to add ESL, that's not even like a thing. That QR code goes to our professional knowledge and skills page, and I highlighted for us in orange where it says initial certification, so that you can have that as a reminder to share with candidates if they're, you know, freaking out and they think they need to take something. They don't, because we say that it's only for initial certification. What if they finish their initial certification for Latin, which would need one, in December of 2025? So you have choices. You can tell them to please apply in MOEX before midnight on New Year's Eve, and then MOEX won't look for one. If they wait until after midnight on New Year's Eve, MOEX will look for one. So that time is like super important. Yes. Yeah, I think that gets to my next question. So the question was, what if they apply? Is that what the trick is? And yes. What if I can't respond to applications before midnight on December 31st? Like, great. Please don't. Log out of MOEX. Stop checking for applications. Yeah, it's the application date that MOEX is going to look for, because MOEX is a machine and we can just tell it to start looking for it at midnight on January 1st. So the idea is that MOEX will start looking at midnight. Yes, Eastern time. Sean is pointing out Eastern time is because MOEX lives in Michigan. So where the vast majority is in Eastern time. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, so for folks on the call, Shauna's pointing out extreme cases. Yeah, it's when the first time Ryan Seacrest tells us it's 2026 is when we care. Okay, so what if a candidate applies for their initial certification for bilingual German, which would care about this date, just before the ball drops? Like, fine, it doesn't matter. Like, it's really just that midnight. Midnight is what we care about. Okay, what if like we have a giant Y2K moment and, we can't go, the application doesn't go through, right? You have this diligent candidate who waited until the last second and then their computer just like freaks out. Really sorry. I wish you'd tried like an hour earlier. MOEX is going to be looking for it at midnight on January 1st. So it's, yeah, just, there's going to be somebody, but you can say that you told them. Okay, so I have really exciting news. If you have ever received has anybody ever received a complaint about the current social studies? Oh, wait, for folks in the room, Kelly and Sean and Gail are the only ones raising their hand. We have a new test, which is very exciting based on the new standards. We're starting with Social Studies 712, Social Studies 59 will be coming next. And we have an item review conference. So if you have any faculty who've ever been concerned or unhappy, this is their first and a really meaningful opportunity for them to have some input. The item review conference is going to happen on July 22nd to 24th. 24th will just be in the morning. If they want to join us for our equity and access and review the questions from that perspective, you don't have to be a social studies expert to be on the equity and access committee. You just have to have, an interest in identifying and preventing bias and testing. You can join us on the afternoon of the 24th and 25th. The meeting will take place in person in Lansing, exact location TBD. We really want your faculty. We really want your recent graduates. We really want your cooperating teachers, your field supervisors, your mentor teachers. Anybody that works with you on social studies is really great for this. And it is in your best interest to invite as many people as possible, because then your program has just that much more influence over the direction of the test. And that's true for any MTTC, but everybody hates this one. How do you apply? There's a website that you can go to. I didn't put a QR code, but it's on the MTTC page as well, or you can just email me if you want me to send you the link. Really, really, really recommend that you have people come. I know it's in the summer and that can be really difficult, but that's how we try to get it out as soon as we can. And why? So you get like an honorarium, a modest honorarium. You get sketches for participating. If you're from higher ed, you get faculty get a practice test access. So we're happy to give you a free practice test when it's available. We'll pay for travel reimbursement. Pearson will pay for travel reimbursement for like meal and mileage. It's engaging professional development. But the real reason for why you'd want to do this, this was a quote. This was a feedback that somebody gave anonymously from one of our, I think it was high school ELA, saying this was such a valuable process. I've had an intern for the past 8 years. Each one has said they were frustrated with the test and have been accumulating reasons why they were frustrated over the years. This committee addressed all those concerns. I feel much more confident that teacher candidates taking this test in the future will have a much more accurate and useful assessment of what they should know to be a successful teacher. Thanks for helping me grow as a professional. So I love this feedback because it's positive, but also because this is an experienced mentor teacher who has seen, struggles that their candidates have had with that 002 test, and had a list of grievances and really felt like it was addressed. And I think that's what we're trying to do, right? These new tests are meant to be addressing what teachers need to know and be able to do as a teacher, as opposed to just somebody who really understands like English or history. So, and then I want to spend a couple minutes talking about something less exciting, about MTTC test prep, what we don't recommend and why. What we do not recommend candidates use are things that are marketed to them. So examples that are really popular are like Mometrics, Study.com, 240 tutoring, passage preparation, and a newer one is learning liaisons. We recommend avoiding it because there's really often poor alignment to the grade range. The questions tend to be really low level compared to what they'll see on their actual exam. And there's often a really poor alignment to the test objectives. Those are really nice ways of saying it tends to be a person's waste of time if they think that this is something that's going to be an accurate reflection of what they'll expect on their exam. I have examples. This is a question from the Mometrics Pre-K3 Professional Knowledge and Skills book, which I brought with me if you want to look over some other examples of questions. This is number 49. Which of the following behaviors typically develops earliest in babies, toddlers, young children? So much wrong with this question in terms of MTTC. By pre-K, you know that we mean the year before kindergarten, right? Junior kindergarten, beginnergarten, developmental kindergarten. There are no infants in that grade range. So this question doesn't make any sense. This question is something that I suppose you could Google, although that's a really wide range. It's probably everything from early childhood. We don't really have a lot of Googleable questions on our exam, which you can find out for yourself by looking at sample questions on the website or a practice test. So when a candidate looks at this, they're getting the wrong grade range. They're getting really a too easy of a question. And when they study a bunch of these, they think that this is what their exam's going to look like. And then they go into their exam and it's nothing like this, and they're really frustrated, especially if they don't pass. So we don't recommend it. Here's another example. This is from study.com. It's on their website for their math secondary test for us. It says, I know it's hard to read. It says the first question is a distance from point A to point B is 16 centimeters, and then they have a picture of it. If the line is divided into 4 equal segments, how long will each segment measure? This is a question, Jenny's laughing. This isn't what you should. This is ridiculous. This is a question for their 612 math. And like, I kind of get it for high school geometry. If you're talking about, you know, like the principles and everything, like, but this is so low level. It's really not at all what you would expect. I'd be shocked if we had something like this. I'd be embarrassed if we had something like this on our actual exam. I'd be super embarrassed and confused if we had something like the second question. What's one way to solve a quadratic equation? And the choices are inverse, least common multiple, opposite, and FOIL. The first 3 don't make sense. They're not methods for solving a quadratic equation. For FOIL, you're in the ballpark. We wouldn't use an acronym like that, so it's just like super not our style, because first, outside, inside, last, like really we'd probably call that the distributive property or expanding binomials. But really, if you've already had them factored like that, you can figure out how to solve it. Like if there's questions, it doesn't make sense. And having your candidate spend time on questions that don't make sense isn't going to help them. But I get a lot of questions from candidates who say that they've used Mometrics. My program told me to use study.com. And it's really awkward to tell them we don't recommend it, and here's why. Okay, and then, yes, and then another thing, like a couple weeks ago, he posted, oh, I'm working on one of our new 712 math tests. Super cool, because that's new for us, and that's our grade range. What do you think the answer to this is? Why? And if you're like me, what the heck is this? LOL. Like, this is solving system of equations, and I mean, they chose weird numbers, but this is not rocket surgery if you are adequately prepared for 712 math teaching. I just, like, I can't even, I really don't recommend it. And when your candidates, when your candidates tell me that this is something that their EPP recommended, I'll tell them I wish they hadn't, because it's just not, it's not good enough. It's not going to help them. And then, yeah, I got this email from a woman who attended a webinar recently that Pearson hosted. She emailed me afterwards. She said, for the past 2 years, I've been trying to learn through Mometrics books and flashcards. When you shared that I should stay away from them, my ears perked up. I cried because I felt like I was failing miserably. Taking their online practice tests made studying confusing. She is going through an alternative route, but you all have a lot of these kinds of candidates through your Grow Your Own programs. She's been in schools for, 2 decades as a parapro, as a substitute teacher, and she's using the things that are easily accessible to her, and it's not helping. So that's really why we don't recommend it. Kind of happier news. Just as a heads up before people leave for summer, about the reimbursement grant. What happens if the funds run out? Like Sean mentioned earlier, we did run out of funds last year. It was around Labor Day, so it's like really convenient timing with school starting up and nobody stressed. If funds run out, we'll let you know. We'll give you as much of a heads up as we possibly can. We get weekly reports from Pearson about how much money has been used. We keep a running track of that. So as soon as we have an idea that we might be running out or in danger, we'll let you know. We'll put something on the MTTC website. We'll put something on our MDE website. We'll use the listserv. And this is where it kind of depends on whether or not it might or might not be in the budget. Like Sean said, it's not in the governor's budget. It's not in the Senate budget. If we're confident that it will be included in the budget, we'll do like we did last year, and we'll advise that if you have candidates who can wait until October 1st, that maybe they reschedule and do that. I can provide screenshots or whatever about how to reschedule. If we're not confident that the budget will include the reimbursement grant, we'll let you know that candidates should keep testing as appropriate, but know that even though they might be eligible, the money might not be there. So, we don't know which way it's going to go yet. And we'll just continue to keep you updated once the money does run out, if it does. And again, we'd reach out through the listserv, the website, and the MTTC website that Pearson hosts for us. Okay, and the last one is about administrator testing. So we're still in this phase 1 period for administrator testing, and we think that's probably just going to continue through 2025. So candidates can continue to test under this good faith effort criteria, which is, it's easier to pass now. It is still not going to be required if they go and apply in MOEX. So as far as we know, we don't have a date for when MOEX is going to start looking for that, but we are confident at this point that it won't be in 2025. We do feel like it will happen in 2026 and with all the confidence of TBD. So at some point, and we will go into this like phase 2 where we're gonna turn it on. We're gonna start the passing the test, earning that real scaled score of 220 or greater, which is what the panel recommended, will be required for getting the ES or CO endorsement, like meaning MOEX will look for it. The start date, like I said, it's still TBD. We will give you as much warning as we possibly can. I am super confident that like 3 months heads up is perfectly doable for us. And if we can give you more time than that, we will. The vouchers that we gave to you in July of last year are now expired, and there were many communications given to the admin person, primary point of contact at your EPP. By expired, it meant that they had to register with that voucher by March 30th. And then they had a whole year to sit for their exam. That was also explained multiple times. If you have somebody who, didn't get a voucher or whatever, they got it, they didn't apply it. First-time test takers still qualify for the reimbursement grant. So that's an option as well. They need that financial assistance. If you have questions, Gina is amazing and will take any of your questions about administrator testing. And but we weren't going to make her walk down for one slide. So, all right, that's it. Is this you?
Yes, thank you. All right, so from our recruitment and retention team. Student loan repayment program application window is currently open, closes on May 19th. Eligible district employees encouraged to apply. Individual district employees are the ones who do it this time. It's not the school doing it on behalf of people. So they're required to fulfill the criteria that are outlined in the application and submit those applications directly. And please direct interested applicants to that student loan repayment program webpage for important details. That QR code should take you to that page. Explore programs, $1 million for a fiscal year, and that has been recurring. It's a dual focus grant, one to support people who are in Explore student programs in grades 6 through 12, helping people in middle and high school who are interested in becoming teachers, explore the profession. And then focus 2 is our pilot one, which is tuition support for Explore alumni who are pursuing teacher certification. You'll want to communicate this opportunity to the districts that you partner with because they're the ones who apply. And the next grant application will be available to districts in the late summer. I don't know if Kelly's got an update to that. This is Dante gave me these slides, so. All right, for those online, the Senate and executive budget recommendations reduce the recurring amount here from $1 million to about half of what that was. So there'll be less money in that program. Mentoring and induction, the standards are reaching their final round of revisions. It was a really great presentation from the Project Impact team here yesterday. AIR, American Institutes for Research, has initiated collection of baseline data for the evaluation grant that goes with it. And the district support grant closed on March 27th. We got a lot of interest from districts. We are still in need of reviewers for this. What's the factor by which the requests exceeded the available allocation? About 3.5 times requests, more than is actually allocated for mentoring and induction. So it is a competitive grant. Not everybody's going to get funded. You've got the QR code to get there, and then the link that's in the slide. All right, we have a virtual job fair coming up next week on the 14th from 10 to 4. There's the QR code for registration. All right, data and accountability, come on back. There you go.
What a fun perk of doing 2 jobs. I get to come up twice. So I wanted to let everybody know that the data dashboard, the Educator Workforce Data Dashboard, was recently updated with the 23-24 data. When I asked Aishu, like, hey, you put so much work into this, what do you want me to tell, DARTEP about it? She had a lot of really cool ideas. So there's some trends and nuances that she noticed, that there's a year-over-year increase in the number of initial teaching certifications or certificates, which is very exciting. She's found a 21% increase compared to 22-23, but the growth is mostly due to ITCs, so folks going through an alt route provider, and that could be getting an additional endorsement, or I'm sorry, no, that was initial. So yeah, so it's nice to see that we have so much growth in the field. It is coming through alternative routes primarily. There are some new features and enhancements that she added. There's different kind of interactive filters that are really exciting to see. You can see EPP level details in some survey reports. There's different maps and school districts, that you can see on the maps that are really cool, and more breakdowns that you can better answer questions. Aishu is your expert on the workforce dashboard. She knows everything. The QR code goes to the dashboard if you want to poke around and look at it. And if you have questions about it, her email address is in the list of MDE contacts at the end of our written updates. And I'm also happy to send any questions that you have her way. But it's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's a really cool tool. Also, if you use this and you have a question that you were able to answer with the dashboard, please let us know, because so much goes into it, and we find a lot of really exciting things, but what we want to know is how it's being used, because that's why it goes out. So, and then Jason has some reminders.
Yep, thank you, Bridget. A couple quick reminders. Are we doing this ourselves? Yeah, okay. Okay, so the fall winter 2024 candidate suite surveys, right? Those went out on March 18th for your review. No, I think for the most part, everything looks status quo, but there were a few EPPs that had pretty low response rates compared to normal, right? And you would have seen that in the files that I sent out. So just a reminder that now that we're skipping to the bottom bullet, now that we're into the spring summer 2025 candidate suite surveys, just a reminder to check your dashboard, right? Make sure your candidates and your mentors, cooperating teachers, make sure they're taking the survey as well. You have that ability. If you need reminders about your credentials to access the dashboard, just send me an email. I'll get those sent over to you. And then for those who, maybe some redundant information for those who were at our meeting yesterday, but the candidate tracking system, right? We've been using that to roster candidates for both surveys. Now that the fall rostering is done, the spring rostering is done, we've asked folks to focus in on the rest of your candidates in the 2024-25 cycle. Basically, if a candidate is going to be reported to Title II as part of the 24-25 cohort, we are asking that you try to get those folks into the candidate tracking system by the end of June. So June 30th is sort of our target time for you to have the candidates in the system and have their status updated. Then we'll take a look at it. Given that this is still new and you're still trying to figure out the best way to sort of engage the candidates and get them into the system, we do expect you not to have everybody around June 30th. So what I anticipate doing is after June 30th, we'll download the data. I will prepare individual files for each EPP. I will send those out to you so you can kind of just verify this is what we're seeing, make sure it's what you intended for us to see, but also give you an opportunity to add any candidates that are missing who you were unable to get into MOAX. You can add those names to a list, and hopefully that combined list, who's in MOAX plus whoever you add in that supplemental template, hopefully that equals roughly what we'll see with the Title II numbers next spring when we go through that cycle with the Title II reports. And then speaking of the Title II report, just a heads up, and this is something that we'll mention or hit again in October when it comes around, but you might have noticed over the years that the ES definition of a completer, when you're doing that data collection worksheet for ES, where you're kind of reporting who's in the Title II cohort and whose sort of MTT pass rates need to get reported or passed on to Truon for the Title II report the following spring, you might have noticed that there's different definitions of a completer. Right, so there was the ES definition, and then what you see in the Title II glossary was something a little bit different. So we've been working with ES to make some changes, I guess, unknown to me. We have control over that definition that ES was giving you. So we're going to sync those two up. So moving forward with the 24-2025 cohort, let's go ahead and make sure you're using that Title II definition of a completer. What you will see in October when the portal through ES opens up for that data collection worksheet, this is the language you'll see in the definition of a completer. The main difference being that the old ES definition allowed or required that a completer be someone who also completed the MTTC test, that they pass the MTTC test. That was part of the requirement for being a completer. That is now out. We're syncing it up with Title II glossary, and so this is what you will see moving forward. And we'll mention it again in October, right? Because that report for ES opens up in October. So we'll mention it again at the October DARTEP just to make sure we're all on the same page. And I think that's all DAU had for you.
Great, thank you. Our usual reminder, follow us on social media. And there's our Educationally Speaking newsletter, which goes out to everybody who has a credential, a valid credential in the state. But you can also sign up for it on our website, and that goes out monthly. So you can see what all the teachers and administrators are getting. And we're ready for Q&A. Kevin. Yes. This is a great question. I'm going to summarize it here for those who are online. The annual vouchers that you get as an EPP are based on the volume of vouchers that you have used in the past years. So I'll look in the camera because it's online people I'm speaking to. And so if you don't use a lot of them, you can have the known vouchers allocated to you reduced. And so Kevin's question is, over the last 2 years with the reimbursement grant, vouchers were going underused. And so would we look, if that's not funded again, would we look back to when we didn't have that grant in determining vouchers? And the answer is yes. So, yep, we would look back for that maximum benefit. All right. Well, if no other questions, then we'll be around for job likes and stuff. Oh, Joe. Yeah. Right. Hmm. Yeah. All right. So summarizing the question for online, we referenced 2 of the bills that passed the House with bipartisan support. 4151 allowing for people to add endorsements by testing only, and 4153 allowing local districts to issue certificates. Joe's comment is the superintendents they work with in the Upper Peninsula, they were not the ones behind this. They thought, where is this coming from? So what's the point of origin for these particular bills? I don't know if we have a specific, like, aha, we know who's behind this. I do know that I've heard from some superintendents who, when they heard about these bills, were like, oh, cool, I hope that goes through. That's going to solve all these problems. And I said, there are other ways to solve the problems right now and don't cost you a penny, and you can do them. And they were happy with that. So I don't know, Kelly, if you'd like to come down and speak into the mic. Yeah, no tripping. I know a lot of bills do, like, are ideas that come out in other states, and then bills get circulated around. But there was a package last fall, Republican minority said, if we get the majority, we're going to do these things. And these are some of those things, but that just pushes origin back.
For the local teaching certificate, I can't say exactly what the point of origin is. I know that the chair of the education committee was very interested in seeing that pass, but I don't know where that information came from or how the idea got brought up or anything along those lines. The endorsement by exam shows up about every session for at least as long as the time I've worked for MDE. So it wasn't really a surprise to see it show up again. That is an idea that many educators have for how they can have more access to a teaching certificate. So we weren't really surprised to see it show up, and it will likely show up again in many different shapes over the course of this session. So think that we're used to seeing those ones. The local teaching certificate one was a surprise though, and we're very concerned about student safety without a credential behind it.
I know with the also with the endorsement by exam, there is some rancor out there from our veteran teachers that all this energy on new teachers and getting new people in and funding them. Well, what about us? What about us veterans out there? And what kinds of things can be offered for us? And what's interesting is there's not a, the people with whom I've spoken on that, there's not a consistent, like, the thing that they want. One said, I'd like to be able to get an additional endorsement in a content area I don't know well, and have it paid for in the way that the new teachers are able to do that. So like a fellowship for that. Others have said, I'd like to be able to, I've learned a lot of stuff. I'd like to be able to take a test and add an endorsement. I've had one person say, I don't want any more endorsements. I don't want any sketches. I don't want any more money. He said, I'd like 20 minutes with Dr. Rice. To tell him what it's like here. And I did contemplate, because that teacher happens to be in a school that is next to my neighborhood. I thought I could walk over there and go to his classroom and be like, hi, I'm not Dr. Rice, but I'll give you 30 minutes and see what happens. But I have not done that. So yeah, there's these varied things that people bring up. I know with the when the MSU's rural education report came out, I was looking through it for certification things, like what are certification related issues. And there's one quote from a superintendent about, I wish I've got this teacher of biology, but they don't have broad science, so I can't put them in other things. And I wish we could do that. So we actually have now some policies to help with either getting that person an integrated science or a new science endorsement, or flexibly placing them around. Yeah, the things that are plaguing the veteran workforce seem as diverse as you can imagine. And housing is another issue. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for those online, we're fighting the myth that to add credentials always means another degree, that you've got to go and do another master's degree. I had that email conversation with a teacher just this week, who unfortunately I had to tell them they did a program and it doesn't lead to anything. But you earned your professional certificate with it, so it wasn't for vain. And they said, all right, well, I don't care about that. I care about this other endorsement. Do I have to get another master's degree? And I was like, well, there are options that are not, what could expedite it for you. So. Contradictions in the bill package that Kelly bothers her. So there we are. Jillian. Yes. Yeah. Gina and I had a session on this. Yeah. Great. Yep. And for those online, Jillian asked about PK3 and 3.6 reports. A lot of institutions will have those coming due June 30, 2026. And would we use this space to provide guidance? And Gina responded, yes, we did a session here, and we'll be rolling out these resources. One, to support people who are doing June 30 reports this year. There aren't many. Health and PE, I think, is our most common one. And then we'll continue to roll those out. So for next year, anticipating that large group. And we've simplified what we're doing to a list of things that we want you to demonstrate about your program, and then you can create the report in the way that makes the most sense. Michael Gale in the back. Okay. So Michael asked the question, is it within the bounds of decorum or propriety to post things to the website saying we don't recommend, as following up on Bridget's presentation, that we don't recommend various third-party resources, naming them by name for MTTC. It depends on what your institutional policies are, but our website says don't use them. So we have an FAQ on how do I prepare, and we call out specific ones on that, which does elicit calls from how do we get off your banned list? So yes, yeah, you can point to the FAQ on our MTTC page. We don't provide all this evidence or the chat histories and things like that, but what Bridget would, and this is a sales pitch here, she goes out to many of her EPPs, have had her come out either virtually or in person to do an MTTC talk with candidates. Those have been very popular, gotten really great feedback, and that's emphasized in those. So she'll share that PK3 example about infant toddler is it's a stock item in the presentation, and there's some others too. Eric. Yes. Yes, and so Eric's question for those online is, could we do a recording of one of Bridget's presentations? And certainly it's at her discretion. We customize them, sometimes customize them a little bit to the individual institution. So like when we will call out who the CERT officer is, for example, in the presentation, so that people know to whom should I direct questions. But I think we can easily do, just like we have Pearson does the test taker webinars, and there's a general one for everybody that's recorded. But if you want to say. Yeah, for those online, Bridget said she likes to go to places, but also will happily do evening webinars and pipe in. What she likes is that interaction with candidates during Q&A. She says she has nothing going on at 7, but she has a life outside of MDE and, currently is working out of class. So she has 2 MDE lives. And so that should not cut out anything from her life after 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3:30, whenever your daughter's pickup is on a given day. Yeah. So, But yes, she's happy to do that. And we do this as we do a team. This started as stuff that she and I went to Saginaw Valley. I was co-teaching a class with Ann Tapp, and we would come out for one of their last in-person sessions and do that presentation, and then it just spread. Modeled good wait time, and I've picked up good questions instead of calling it all off. So I don't have the agenda sitting in front of me, so I don't know if I'm way over time or not. So, oh well, all right. Here you go.
Thank you very much. Or no? Oh, the keyboard doesn't even want to work. It's basically, we're moving on to Java Lake sessions. And really, I just wanted to see the breakdown of remind me of the group names, but you all know the groups. So we've got this room, and what we thought is we'd have 2 groups stay in this room, just because it's a nice big room. And then we've got some classrooms we've been using throughout the past couple of days, 133 F, and then 133, said E and D. I didn't realize that there was a collapsible wall between the 2 of them. So probably we'll go with E there. So we'll have 2 groups stay here, but we'll take a short break and look to start up our Java-like sessions at 1:15. That still puts us 15 minutes ahead of schedule, which I'm guessing people don't mind. There is plenty of coffee. There's more food out there. And then what we'll do is we'll have deans and directors. We will go to 133 E, and there are a couple ways to get to it. Maybe the quickest way, you go up the steps, and then there's it looks like an office there on the right, and you can go through the office to get access to this classroom. And then, there we go, thank you. The F, which assessment? Okay, so Gina will lead you to F. That should be big enough. So that leaves our clinical placement and certification officers, so that there's not some kind of big battle. I'm just going to tell you which sides of the room you should go to. Okay. We could have a dance off if you want. It doesn't matter. So clinical placement coordinators, you can claim this side of the room, and then certification officers can claim that side of the room. And also, lunches will be delivered between 11:30 and 11:45. So if you want a lunch, you got to stick around until at least then. We hope you do want a lunch, and take that. And the idea is you can take it, you can eat as you drive if you can manage that, or you can sit outside somewhere beautiful, you can sit inside, you can keep talking to colleagues, however you want to do that. But thank you very much for your time and attention. Yes.